Hi, everyone, and welcome to Question Period Rewind. I'm Donna Skelly, Speaker of the Legislative Assembly of Ontario. We have a segment queued up from 1986, a big year for the film industry. That's when the Pixar animation studio first launched. Tom Cruise was fawned over as Maverick with the debut of Top Gun, and James Cameron released one of the top sci-fi films of all time, Aliens. Now, what was being discussed in Ontario's Parliament was far from science fiction. Let's take a listen.
Now, if I could have order again, it's time for oral questions. The Leader of the Opposition.
Forgive me, Speaker, I'm still out of breath from the last statement. Speaker, I want to commend to you and the Governor and to the government the option of having the member for Welland Thorold read the throne speech next spring. Make me an offer. We can talk later, Mel. We can. You see, you missed your chance, Mel.
Now, if we could get it back to questions. Good.
Mr. Speaker, Speaker, I have a question for the Minister of Health. Minister, we have been discussing for some days here, the House has been discussing for some days the problems being faced in nursing homes, and everyone is well aware of the fact that in certain circumstances the conditions are a lot frightening. I want to raise one aspect of that which hasn't been talked about too much, and that is the fact that in these nursing homes there are today 72 developmentally handicapped who are residing in those same nursing homes. The Minister knows the problem, and I know the Minister will agree with me that every day that passes that we have 72 developmentally handicapped young people living in, of all places, nursing homes, we have a very critical situation. Could the Minister tell the House when, in fact, he's going to begin to move these young people out of nursing homes and into places where they more properly belong?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the question has been with us for some time, and the honourable gentleman will know that it is one that has been studied for quite some time. And myself, together with the Minister of Community and Social Services, are putting together a way in which we can address that particular question. In fact, my colleague answered a question from the third party, I believe, last week concerning very much the same question, and it indicated that within 18 months there would be progress made, and I think, Mr. Speaker, that the honourable gentleman would like to probably see us make progress as quickly as possible, as all of us would. I don't think that there is any disagreement among us that those people shouldn't be moved into other facilities.
Supplementary.
Well, Minister, we know of your ability in the House to stand up and express concern and assure the House that you're worried about it and trying to do something about it. I must say to the Minister, though, that you now have in your hands the Touche-Ross report of 1984. You have in hand a report of September 1985 from the Ontario Association for the Mentally Retarded. You have in hand the 1986 Nursing Home Residents Complaint Committee report. Every one of those discusses the need to move this problem into ComSoc, to cooperate with ComSoc, and get the young people out. I say to the Minister, in all sincerity, you've had 16 months, you've got all the reports. Days go by when these young people are languishing without sufficient program or care.
Question, please.
My question to the Minister is this. In the last few weeks, there have been 3 deaths of developmentally handicapped young people in Ontario who are living in these nursing homes. Does the Minister not agree with me that whatever the bureaucratic problems and whatever the squabbles over money, the prudent thing today to do is to move the children out of the nursing homes while the jurisdictional fight between the two ministries is resolved.
Minister?
Mr. Speaker, I think the honourable gentleman would have wanted to have listened closely to the answer provided by my colleague, the Honourable John Sweeney, Minister of Community and Social Services, when he indicated that there was no disagreement between our ministries on that point. Those reports, Mr. Speaker, were available to him as they were to us, and I think that each of us has agreed that that, in fact, should take place. Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Minister rose and stood in this House last week and indicated that there was a program being implemented to move those people from the facilities, and I think, Mr. Speaker, that those will, in fact, be carried out, and I commend you to follow up on the efforts of both my colleagues in ComSoc and in the Ministry of Health as well.
Well, I say
Final
to the Minister,
supplementary.
the response of his colleague last week was that you hope to get it done in a year or a year and a half. Now, if the Minister of Health takes the position that there is no jurisdictional dispute, and if the Minister believes that there is not a financial impediment being put up by the Treasurer, then can the Minister answer the question as to why today he doesn't move to get the children today, before there are more deaths, moved out of the nursing homes and into some sort of setting while this program can be completed?
Minister?
Do it today. Why don't you just do it today?
Thing you
Well,
have
Mr.
is a
Speaker,
lot
I
of
think
nerve
the
asking these
honourable
questions.
gentleman will, in his previous incarnation in this House as Minister of Health, remember some of the statements that he made about this,
I'll
and in
short
fact,
that memory.
his sojourn in this position had indicated that his concern was never converted into action. I can commend to you, Mr. Speaker, the fact that this government converts their concern into action, and I have faith in the activities of my colleague, the Minister of Community and Social Services, to move to implement this particular program. We were not requiring a whole series of reports to pile up. We have, in fact, been making efforts to implement the movement of those people from those facilities. We're committed to it, and it will get done. And I can tell you that one of the people who is most in support of this whole is, in fact, our colleague, the Treasurer, as we work at implementing these programs.
New question?
I have a question for the Minister of Education in the absence of the Premier. I wonder if the Minister of Education could tell the House, and I'm sure he will have this answer, what percentage of total expenditures for elementary and secondary school expenditures will the province be funding this year as a result of the announcements made earlier this week?
Minister?
Well, on the data that we have, Mr. Speaker, the province will be underwriting about 54% of the approved expenditures for elementary and secondary education, and overall about 45-46% of the expected expenditure, to which I think the honourable member's question probably makes more direct reference.
Supplementary?
Well, I want to ask the Minister this question. In the middle of the election campaign, March 29, 1985, under a headline which said, PC swindles students, there is this undertaking given by the leader of the Liberal Party. Just hand him some money, Treasurer, not advice. That's what we need. It says, Peterson said a Grit government would increase provincial subsidies for local schools from the current 47%, which it was, to 60% over 5 years. How can the Minister explain the fact, we know we're getting to you when the Attorney General tries to get
Question.
Yes. Find this unctuous.
How can the Minister of Education explain the fact that this year, according to information we got from your staff this morning, the percentage has now dropped from 48.7% in 84, 46.6% in 85.
It's going down.
And this year will reach an all-time low, notwithstanding the Premier's commitment earlier, of 44.9%.
Minister?
Shame.
Well,
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, about what the Leader of the Opposition did while he was Minister of Education, according to this book, Mr. Speaker, according to this book, this Leader of the Opposition, while he was Minister of Education, spent all his time, and I quote, avoiding the tough issues in education. That's what this book suggests. Mr. Speaker, what has this government done? Well, this government, under the leadership of this Premier and with the help of this Treasurer, we have, Mr. Speaker, under this leadership, substantially increased the provincial grant to school boards. Last year, we increased the grant by 5.4% with 4% inflation. This year, we'll be increasing the operating grant by 6%. We've doubled the capital allocation, 87 over 85. Mr. Speaker, we've provided specific enrichment for affirmative action, the Computers in Education program, for distance education. Yes, Mr. Speaker, we will not overnight be able to turn around the decade of neglect to which the honourable gentleman makes reference. But, Mr. Speaker, unlike the Leader of the Opposition, who it is reported in this book took great pains to take the tough decisions, we are facing the reality, we are committing the dollars, and we are making the decisions that are going to provide for the excellence in education in this province.
Order. 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 The member for Durham West on a point of order.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. Is it possible under our rules of order to allow Pinocchio in this chamber?
Order. Final supplementary.
I say to the Minister of Education, the Attorney General would want me to remind you that the people of Ontario are watching this afternoon.
That's right. We all listen to the Attorney General.
The Minister of Education cannot hide behind Rosemary Spears or selected readings of political books in Ontario when it comes to answering the basic question. And Minister, we're not going to let you run and hide behind Rosemary or anyone else. The question is a simple one. Do you, Minister, believe that it is appropriate that, notwithstanding your leader's guarantee that in 5 years the provincial share would rise to 50%, do you think it is appropriate that the Ministry of Education share of total expenditures should have dropped in the 2 years you have been in office, the year and a half, from 48.7% to 44.9%? You're the Minister. Do you think it's appropriate?
Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, at 5:30 this morning, while the Leader of the Opposition was fast asleep,
His wife was up facing the floor.
I was at my desk thinking of this question. And I just want to say to the Leader of the Opposition that I'm quite prepared to stand after 16 months on our record. And our record is a record of commitment, a record of real dollars. And I say to the Leader of the Opposition, it will not be possible for this Minister and this Premier and this Treasurer overnight to correct what you people created over that decade. But I say, Mr. Speaker, and that when in the next few days, Mr. Speaker, we announce the specifics of how we will double in 87 the capital allocation made available by your government in 1985, it'll be clear to the school boards that unlike the previous government, this government is putting real dollars to the real challenge in education, and we're prepared to stand on that commitment.
New question, the member for York South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order. The member for York South.
1987 is going to be a hell of a year, Mr. Speaker. I want to see the Liberal caucus stand for these answers, Mr. Speaker. I have a question to the Minister of Health. He stated in his press release, and we haven't been in the House together since then, that this has to do with the question of uninsured services. He says, "I'm encouraged by the OMA's position that standby charges and excessive administrative fees are unacceptable. In a phone conversation with Dr. David Peachy, who I understand is the OMA's Director of Professional Services, he explained to a member of my staff this afternoon the OMA's position on standby fees. And he said, and I quote, "The OMA is not opposed to standby fees, as Mr. Elston suggests. They are only opposed to, quote, excessive and inappropriate standby fees." So you've been left out to dry there, brother, and I want to ask you a question dealing very specifically with that question. Do you regard, and does the minister regard, a standby fee of $500 by an obstetrician as inappropriate or excessive, as $250 inappropriate or excessive, as $125 inappropriate or excessive? And where are the patients of this province supposed to go when they have a dispute with their doctor about what's inappropriate or excessive? Why don't you do the decent thing and just say that all these extra additional charges are against the law and ought to be outruled?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I thank the honourable gentleman for raising the question. I haven't spoken to Dr. Peachy. It was my understanding that all of us had agreed together that standby charges like that, which mitigate against people accessing health care, were not to be tolerated. I will tell the honourable member what I said the last time he raised the question, that I do not think that it is appropriate for people who are treating patients who are pregnant and going to deliver children to require them to pay standby fees for delivery. I believe that that's part of the service that one would require when you go to someone with respect to pregnancy, and I will repeat my indication that I don't think they are appropriate. I will also tell the honourable gentleman that when people do have difficulties or problems with that, that they know that they can come to the Ministry of Health, because we will deal with the situation as we are advised of it, and we will assist those patients in those situations.
Supplementary.
We now have a situation where after the minister has become involved, the issue is even more confused than it was prior to his involvement. We now have a letter from the OMA which states for the first time, and it's certainly not set out in any regulation that comes under the authority of the minister, Mr. Speaker, a regulation which states for the first time that consultations by doctors with other doctors or with other professionals is now going to be chargeable to patients at the rate of $120 an hour. I'd like to ask the minister, is it his view that those doctors who are, for example, participating in the LIFE program, where they will know a charge of $500 is being proposed and has been imposed on patients, does the minister not realize that the doctors could well claim that that figure, in fact, simply covers the kind of consultation which they are having between and among themselves with respect to the progress of the treatment of the patient? Do you not realize that rather than stopping the floodgate, you've opened the floodgate for even more extra billing, more than we've ever seen in the history of the province of Ontario, thanks to your intervention?
Mr. Speaker, I think that the honourable gentleman would like to take credit for the passage of Bill 94, along with all of us here in this Legislative Assembly. I think the honourable gentleman knows that we have taken steps to take care of those extra charges which do prevent people from accessing insured services. The honourable member will know that under the auspices of Bill 94 that we do have a way in which we can deal with those incidents where patients have been extra billed. Those situations will be addressed and will be dealt with effectively under Bill 94, and in fact, when we have the details of each specific incident, we will then send out declarations. Declarations will then be filled in and received by us, and we will reimburse those people who have been extra billed. You know that, and I know that, and I would like you to help us get the message to the public that, in fact, they can come to us, and we will reimburse those people who are extra billed. And we do have mechanisms under Bill 94 with which to process the problems that patients bring forward to us.
Final supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, the minister is making exactly the same speech that he made prior to Bill 94, and that his previous Tory incumbents made with respect to us, with respect to all the issues that we raised on extra billing. Exactly the same statement. If you've got a problem, come to me, bring it to me, and we'll try and solve it. That was the OMA position. That was Dennis Timbrell's position. That was Larry Grossman's position when he was the Minister of Health. We now have a government that says they're going to ban extra billing. My question to the minister is, why don't you do it? Why don't you establish a definition of extra billing that means that patients are not going to be hit with these additional charges every time they turn around and try and see a doctor in the province of Ontario?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the honourable gentleman will know that one of the parts of Bill 94, which was formed part of an amendment that was put through this House, was the fact that patients do not have to pay in advance, that they do not have to pay until they receive reimbursement from OHIP, that there are ways in which patients have independence of judgment, and in fact I commend the mechanisms of Bill 94 to the people of the province of Ontario to use, Mr. Speaker, to assist them in coming to grips with any incident which appears to be extra billing. The honourable gentleman will know that there are no doubt some creative ways being tried by some members of the profession. We are willing to deal with those when we find out about them. And I can tell the honourable gentleman that we have, for the first time, had a statement from the association that they don't condone those creative and outlandish situations. Dr. Peachy may be a particular spokesman. I read the letter from the President, Dr. Railton, and it appeared to be much more clear than that.
New question. Member for York South.
It's clear who runs the question of extra billing. It's no longer being determined by the Minister of Health. It's now being determined by the OMA, and we know what their position is with respect to extra billing. My second question, Mr. Speaker, is to the Minister of Labour with regard to questions of occupational health and safety. The Minister has made a point in a number of recent announcements saying how many new inspectors he's going to be hiring and what kind of a crackdown we're now going to be seeing from the government with respect to health and safety. I'd like to ask the Minister about a particular case, just so we can perhaps put this crackdown that's going on in some perspective. The case of Pro Electric, Mr. Speaker, in London, Ontario, February the 21st, 1986, which is while the Minister was the Minister of Labour, a Pro Electric employee was critically injured as a result of a fall from a scaffold that apparently did not have proper access ladders and railings. The inspector had issued a stop work order to Pro Electric on February 12th of that year for the same scaffolding contraventions, that's to say 9 days before. He'd also visited Pro Electric to follow up on their compliance on February 19th, 2 days before the accident. Mr. Speaker, I wonder if the Minister can explain why, when the inspector wrote a report recommending prosecutions against the foreman and the employer for the critical injury of Mr. Groot, that those recommendations were not proceeded with. And perhaps I could draw from that another question, Mr. Speaker. What is the point of appointing new inspectors if, when inspectors suggest and in fact say that a prosecution should proceed, it's the position of the ministry that no prosecutions will be going ahead?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I just want to say, in the first instance, in general, I think the honourable member would want to remind remember that we have had recommendations to the legal branch for prosecution, and that is recommendations which have proceeded through the inspectorate, through their supervisory personnel, often through the line branch, and to the legal branch, which in the first 5 months of this year are 155% higher than in the same period in 1985, specifically almost 300. And we expect, Mr. Speaker, by the end of this year, we will have recommendations to prosecute numbering almost 700. So much so that we have, and I'm very grateful to the Treasurer for allowing that extra resources could be given to the legal branch. Now, Mr. Speaker, as regards Pro Electric, the honourable member will know that the Pro Electric case is one matter which Mr. Laskin is currently reviewing, and I think it would be appropriate that the honourable the leader of the third party would Mr. Laskin's findings in this regard.
Supplementary.
Well, in the north, we had government by Coopers and Librand. Now we have government by Laskin. It's going to vary from consultant from day to day, but I think we're entitled to get answers from the Minister of Labor for activities that have gone on under his ministry while he was the minister with respect to recommendations made to his ministry. I think we're entitled to those answers. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to raise another case, the case of Mike's Window and Floor Cleaners, again, a case in London, where the inspector issued orders and recommended charges be laid after one man by the name of Jeffrey Pritchard fell to his death. That was over 2 years ago. Charges were never laid. 2 years later, another employee fell while cleaning windows and was also critically injured, Mr. Speaker. 2 years later, in September of 1986.
Question, please.
I wonder if the minister can explain why no charges have still been laid in this case.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'd have to check into the status of the 1986 case, but as I said in the answer to the member's first question, and I say it in answer to this, the case of Mike's Window Cleaners is a matter, one of the 27, I believe, matters that OPSU raised, Mr. Speaker, with Mr. Laskin, and has had an opportunity to review those carefully with Mr. Laskin, and Mr. Laskin is having an opportunity to respond. You know, it's very easy to make very easy to make allegations of inaction, but I really think that those allegations become just a little weaker when one looks at the fact that this government has said to the leader of the third party, to his seatmate to his left, to all members of the House, that if there are matters, if there are issues in which you think there has been impropriety and misconduct, bring those matters to Mr. Laskin. And quite frankly, Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased that a number of people have done so, and that right now Mr. Laskin is looking at some 71 cases, and I look forward to his report.
Final supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, I have a great deal of respect for Mr. Laskin, as many people do. That's not the issue. The issue is we have a minister here who is hiding behind an inquiry that is going on, an inquiry that does not have powers of subpoena, does not have the powers to require the production of documents, and does not have the power to demand cross-examination under oath. So don't talk to me about an inquiry. That's not an inquiry. It's a one-person study that doesn't have any of the basic legal requirements of any study going on under the Public Inquiries Act in the province of Ontario. I'd like to ask the minister, by way of final supplementary, Mr. Speaker, this simple question. Can the minister explain why, in the first 6 months of 1986, almost 90,000 workers were injured on the job, which is the worst in the history of the province of Ontario? Can he explain why, in last year, there were 5,395 orders issued to companies, only 292 charges were laid, with only 69 leading to successful convictions, and he can explain why between July of 85 and June of 86, 85% of the injuries resulting in death have not led to a prosecution. Can you explain why only 15% of the deaths have led to a prosecution?
Well, there were a number of questions, Mr. Speaker. I'll deal with the last. The fact of the matter is that in some of those deaths, regrettably, it was determined that the worker was at fault, and you know that, and I know that. The fact of the matter is, those fatalities are very carefully reviewed, and certainly there is no workplace tragedy so great as a fatality, and where appropriate, I would think, Mr. Speaker, and I know all members of the House would agree that a full and vigorous prosecution should commence, and should commence as quickly as possible. Mr. Speaker, we are moving as quickly as we can to, as I said, a new regime, new era of health and safety. I acknowledge that the improvement has not been in every place, everywhere as great as I would hope. I acknowledge readily that I'm as disappointed as the honourable gentleman is, as every member in the House is, that we have had the kind of accident rate we have had in the first part of this year. I'm determined that is going to go down, and that we are going to reverse that trend and reverse it as quickly as possible. That's why we got 13 new safety inspectors for the construction branch. We announced those yesterday, and we'll be making many other announcements in the months to come. Thank you.
New question. The member for Durham, York.
I have a question for the Minister of Agriculture. Mr. Speaker, what method of allocation maximizes the Ontario share of the $1 billion deficiency payments coming from the feds, and what method of allocation are you proposing in the splitting of those funds?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, that decision has not been reached yet, to my knowledge, by my federal counterpart. Well, I answered the question earlier in the week or last week, Mr. Speaker, when the same question was asked. I indicated that the deputy ministers had met in Ottawa and that they had come to an agreement that the allocation be on the basis of the tons of crop produced in each province. Now, I don't know whether Mr. Wise is giving any consideration to that decision, but we feel it is the fairest way of allocating that $1 billion throughout the country.
Supplementary.
Now, the total loss to the farmers resulting from the U.S. Food Security Act is estimated at close to $3 billion. Will you be doubling the federal funds when in the allocations to Ontario farmers?
Minister.
No, I would say that we won't be doubling the funds, but I think if the member would care to look at the figures, he'll find that throughout the country we are not too far off of the $4 billion that the OIA in their report recommended by way of subsidy to farmers. If you were to look at the programs which we have introduced in this province, you will find that we have spent about $400 million to subsidize farmers one way or another. If other provinces did the same, and adding the $1 billion from the federal government, you'll find, sir, that we are not very far off of the $4 billion which the OIA reported was needed for the farmers of this country. Just take a look at your figures, sir.
New question, the member for Sudbury East.
I have a question for the guardian of the swamp.
Which minister?
Regarding Queen's University. The Minister of Labor, pardon me. On November 25th of '85, last year, a cleaner at Queen's University was critically injured when he fell through a skylight he was cleaning. The inspector found the university failed to provide the cleaner with a fall-arresting device. On December 3rd, the inspector issued orders and recommended charges be laid. After the ministry held a mediation meeting, which shouldn't have been held, with the university, the charges were dropped, and the legal branch was told on April 15th not to proceed with the prosecution. Can the minister tell us why the ministry failed to prosecute the university when, as a result of their negligence, a man was critically injured?
Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we can go through the list. We can go through all 71, and the answer is going to be the same. The answer is that this is a matter that is being looked at by Mr. Laskin. We take these matters very, very seriously. I know, and I can say to my honorable friend that Mr. Laskin, the last information I have is that of the 71, or I believe 72 matters, Mr. Laskin has already written up his findings on 45 to 50. I believe he feels he's disposed of most of them, and we are very quickly reaching a conclusion. I will share, Mr. Speaker, with my honorable friend, with all members of the House, and indeed will lay on the table the results of the Laskin findings, and we will see at that time. But I just want to, Mr. Speaker, remind my honorable friend that all of those facts that he puts out are indeed allegations, and those allegations are unsubstantiated by those who might have a different point of view. And I would hope that my friend would be fair-minded enough, as I know he is, to wait until all matters are laid forward to see whether indeed there's been something improper done.
Supplementary.
Well, you know, the minister doesn't want to answer the questions. I have the documentations on these cases, and it's your responsibility as minister to get up here and answer them, not try to hide behind Laskin, who's doing a little private inquiry on your behalf. Does the minister, supplementary, not realize that in 62% of the cases being handled by his ministry, charges were either withdrawn through plea bargaining or through decisions of his ministry not to proceed. Can you explain why the ministry bargained with the university instead of prosecuting in this case? You tell me.
Minister?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I indicate once again we're going to let Mr. Laskin provide answers and provide the appropriate response to that. But I say to my friend who keeps making comments about a private little inquiry, that the inquiry and the method that we have set up to respond to allegations which this minister and this government take very seriously, allegations many of which are years old, that this inquiry and the method by which we are conducting the inquiry are endorsed by a lot of people, including the President of the Ontario Federation of Labour, the head of the Canadian Auto Workers Union, the head of the United Steelworkers Union District 6. I just remind my honourable friend of that fact.
New question? Order. Order.
Oh.
The member for Simcoe Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You could have been the Minister of Labour, Eli.
Mr. Speaker, I have a question for the acting chairman of Management Board. Mr. Chairman, can you tell this House why in April of this year your government commissioned a study that has cost or will cost the taxpayer of this province between $30,000 and $40,000 to make recommendations regarding the need for new government symbology, thus doing away with the official government symbol, the provincial flower, the trillium?
Minister?
I am really not aware of such a study. I think the honourable member will remember with great pleasure the publication of the provincial finance report with that beautiful red trillium on the front. I can assure him that there's no thought of abolishing the trillium as a provincial symbol. I will, however, inquire at Management Board about the review the honourable member is waving around.
Well, supplementary. Mr. Speaker, supplementary. Under page 2 of the report, it says here, and to make recommendations regarding the need for new symbology for the province. Now, Mr. Acting Chairman, let me take you through a short history lesson here. You'll no doubt recall a provincial premier named Mitch Hepburn and the registrar named Harry Nixon. Now, the year, Mr. Chairman, was 1937. The trillium was adopted as the official provincial flower for the province. I say to you, Mr. Chairman, it was good enough for your father. It's been good enough for the people of this province for 49 years. Why has your government squandered $40,000 in an attempt at the most crass political move that's been seen in the history of this House?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member's great-grandfather was the leader of the opposition in those days, and a very fine one he was. The only leader of the opposition of the Tory party that never became premier until now. But I want to say that the honourable member's party knows all about symbology. I never heard that word before, but isn't it a beautiful one? That he and his colleagues have adopted the symbol of the provincial rock, the provincial tree, the provincial bird, the provincial insect. It's all there. It's all there. We have got, Mr. Speaker, we have so many symbols that we can draw on a wide spectrum that were approved by the honourable member and his colleagues in the dying months of that unlamented government. The honourable member has asked for some details about a report, and as acting chairman of Management Board, I'll provide it.
New question, the member for Sudbury East.
I have, this will come as a surprise, Mr. Speaker. I have another question for the keeper, the Guardian. Is the minister aware that charges were laid against ADMAC Lock and Safety and Wajax Industries Limited due to the fatality of a worker installing a bank vault in Mississauga in 1985?
Order.
The court date was set for the...
Order. There was a point of order. Is this question to the Treasurer or the Minister of Labour?
Pardon me, the Minister of Labour.
The Minister of Labour. Oh.
Oh, I apologize, Mr. Speaker. It's for the Minister of Labour. thought there was only one swamp. But if there's two,
no, more than two.
It's a new discovery. Could I
You're
start
in
again?
a different swamp, Nixon.
Thank you. Minister of Labour, is the minister aware that charges were laid against Adnac Lock and Safety and Wajax Industry Limited due to the fatality of a worker installing a bank vault in Mississauga in May 1985? The court date was set for December 85, but the ministry prosecutor did not inform the inspector of the trial date, and the prosecutor failed to appear. New charges were laid in January. Adnac appealed on the grounds that the non-appearance of the prosecutor from the Ministry of Labour prevented further proceeding against them, and the judge dismissed the case. Can you tell me why the prosecutor failed to appear at that hearing?
Minister?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm now aware that my friends in the third party have now raised 5 of the 71 cases. The matter I am aware of. I'm aware, Mr. Speaker, of the details of the allegation, given the fact that the details were provided by the Ontario Public Service Employees Union, as the honourable gentleman knows, to Mr. Laskin. I had a chance to read the opsio brief, Mr. Speaker, read it carefully, and I read a number of the cases, I might say, with a great deal of concern, and worry about the allegations, because, like my friend, and I do want to say, some of the matters, some of the issues that were raised, Mr. Speaker, some of the 27 cases were deeply troubling. And nevertheless, I felt that, given the very high quality, the very outstanding reputation that Mr. Laskin has, and his outstanding abilities, I felt it was appropriate, rather than fully investigating them myself, since the government had put in place an inquiry to have Mr. Laskin investigate these and others, we should allow those that inquiry to take place. I note, Mr. Speaker, that the leader of the third party speaks very highly of Mr. Laskin. It's very appropriate for him to do so. I'm sure he'll get to the bottom of this case as he will.
Supplementary.
We're not being critical of Mr. Laskin, so get off it, will you? The question, very simply put, was that why didn't your prosecutor appear? Well, let me ask you another question. In a similar case, a company called Deep Foundations, and an inspector investigated an incident, recommended charges were laid, and again no minister prosecutor appeared, and the charges were dismissed. Now, you can hide behind Laskin all you want. I want to know why your prosecutor in 2 cases didn't show up. And you don't have to hide behind Laskin to tell us that.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I regret that my honourable friend appears to believe that there is some difference of opinion between us. I don't think there is. Mr. Speaker, I have every bit, Mr. Speaker, I have every bit as much a concern and a deep regard for the health and safety of workers in the workplaces of Ontario, as does my honourable friend, and does any member of that party, including the leader of the third party who continues to make those kind of comments. Mr. Speaker, the matter of Deep Foundation again raises, as the honourable gentleman points out, a very serious concern. I would think, Mr. Speaker, that the honourable member would applaud the fact that this government has put in place an individual who will not only check and see whether there is impropriety, but who will put in place, Mr. Speaker, the kind of mechanisms which will ensure in the future that we do not have these problems. The prosecutions, when appropriate, are carried forward in an appropriate and timely fashion.
Order. Order. The member for Sudbury East, the member for York South have asked questions. Order. Order. New question, the member for York Centre.
Mr. Speaker, I have a question for the Minister of Community and Social Services, and a question pertaining to children. Our leader asked a question about the 72 developmentally handicapped children in nursing homes. There was no answer there. I hope there's an answer from the Minister on this important question. Well, there's been no answers all afternoon, and the people of Ontario are beginning to be concerned. The question is a simple one. What action, if any, are you or your ministry doing to help resolve the month-long strike at the Robert Smart Centre in Ottawa?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, our prime concern in that strike, as in any others, is the safety of the children. And that, in fact, is being looked after by supervisory staff of Robert Smart and monitored on a daily basis by the staff from my Ottawa area office. We are assured that the children and their needs are being handled. Some of them are being handled at the Robert Smart Centre. Some of them have been returned to their families. Some of them are being dealt with at the Royal Ottawa Hospital. That's our responsibility. Our responsibility is not to directly intervene in the negotiations.
Supplementary.
Unsatisfactory. Mr. Speaker, we're talking about a very serious strike in Ottawa, dealing with a centre where there's 40% staff turnover a year. You're talking about staff that are receiving below average wages. You're talking about a high-risk environment. And now, a month-long strike, and you've got 5 of 7 group homes closed down. You're talking about 7 children who were previously under the care of the centres are now not known where they are. How many children does it take for your ministry to get involved? 7 times 7 times 7? How much are you going to wait before you're going to do something to help those children? You've lost out on the money from the treasurer.
Order.
Why don't you start getting some money to put in that place that's 95% funded by your ministry?
When are you going to properly fund them?
Mr. Speaker, it is...
Order. 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 Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it is not correct, to the best of my information, that there are any children, including 7, whose whereabouts are not known. We know, my area office knows, where each of those children are. They are either in their homes, they are at the Robert Smart Centre, or they are at the Royal Ottawa Hospital. And in each case, their welfare and their progress and their needs are being met by competent professionals. I am not and I cannot intervene in a strike where there is an independent, autonomous board that has received a funding allocation from my ministry and who must decide in negotiations with their employees how those funds will be distributed.
New question, the member for Bellwoods.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a...
Order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a question also to the Minister of Labour, who will recall that on October the 15th, the Workers' Compensation Board established a commission of inquiry into the Downsview Rehabilitation Centre as a result of charges that were made by Mr. Ray Lebert of Local 444 CAW, charges involving inadequate patient activity, professional misconduct, including sexual abuse of staff, professional incompetence, and inadequate administrative procedures at the HNRC in Downsview, run by the Workers' Compensation Board. I'd like to ask the Minister, since the report is due today, 3 weeks is up today, why this inquiry into these allegations was carried out by a team which included the director of the Downsview Rehabilitation Center, who said on October the 2nd that, and this is Dr. Ed Kummel, that he was shocked by the allegations, but said, quote, "A little bum pinching takes place here and there, but nothing serious. I consider that part of life." I want to know why the minister permitted this gentleman to undertake this inquiry.
Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the honourable member suggests that it was Dr. Kummel who's the only individual involved in the inquiry. As the honourable gentleman knows, the 2 additional members of the inquiry team are both women. One is a board counsel, the other is the human rights advocate for the board. I'm told that as recently as last week, it was my understanding that interviews with those who raised the allegations reported to me by Mr. Liebert. We're conducting interviews with the individual patients in Windsor. I hope they'll be able to get to the bottom of what are some very serious allegations. I can only say this about Dr. Kummel's comments. I think they were inappropriate, and I think they were offensive, and I think all members of the legislature would agree with those comments.
Supplementary?
They were inappropriate, they were inoffensive. One may say they were sexist, they were disgusting, they were degrading, and yet you permitted this gentleman to preside over the inquiry. My question stands. Why on earth did you have so little common sense and so little sense of your own responsibilities as to permit this to happen? Why did you attack Mr. Liebert in the Windsor newspapers, where you are quoted as having blasted him for making one-sided criticisms in the midst of this so-called commission of inquiry? What other interpretation is there, Mr. Speaker, that this is simply a whitewash and that you have no intention of getting to the truth in these allegations?
You always blame Mr. Speaker, I'm sure that the independent external board of directors of the Workers' Compensation Board, a board that includes the likes of Gerard Docquier, Joe Duffy, and Bud Clark, all of whom my friend will know are outstanding trade unionists, would never tolerate a whitewash, and I'm sure they won't. The Board of Inquiry, the board that is set up, was set up by Dr. Elgee, who, as my friend knows, is the chairman of the Workers' Compensation Board. And the inquiry is being carried out in some very serious allegations. I want to say, and I regret, Mr. Speaker, that my friend opposite thinks that somehow individuals who would go to a place like Downsview and smuggle in alcohol and trade pills have absolutely no responsibility for those actions. I guess that's the difference between he and I, perhaps between that party and this party, is we take the responsibilities of individuals very, very seriously.
New question. Order. New question, the member for Mississauga East.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Any order in this House, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, I have a question for the Minister of Revenue. He was lurking underneath the balcony there. He was lurking. To the Minister of Revenue. Mr. Minister, over the past few days, members of my caucus and I have repeatedly asked the government to release the individual property assessment reports for the 305,000 homeowners in metropolitan Toronto facing increased property taxes, and we've yet to receive an acceptable answer. On October 26, Mr. Speaker, the minister was reported in the Toronto Star as indicating that the government would release the data when Metro Council endorsed market value assessment. On October 28th meeting of Metro Council, support for the plan was given in principle, and I might add a number of councillors and aldermen requested that the province release the individual property assessment reports. As Metro Council has now not only endorsed the plan in principle, but has also requested the release of these individual reports, I would like to ask the Minister when he plans to release this information.
Minister?
Mr. Speaker, I think the honourable member, having had the responsibility for the assessment policy, would understand, I'm sure he does understand, that the matter of releasing house-by-house assessment data is a matter which could have a negative impact on the assessments as far as the revenues of the city is concerned. It does not affect our provincial revenue in any way. I made it clear that I felt it was not in the best interest of the taxpayers or the municipality to release that information, but that my officials were dealing with the officials of the city in this matter. I'm surprised, actually, that the honourable former minister raised it again when he must have been in the House when his colleague, the member from Durham East, yesterday when this was debated, said he supported my policy and thought it was the right thing to do. It's difficult to know, once again, where the Tories stand in this matter.
Supplementary.
I'm quite sure you can tell from my question where I stand and what I'm trying to get from you. You're obviously afraid to release these reports. You know there's a great uncertainty amongst the many homeowners who fear they will be unable to absorb the increase and will be forced to sell their homes. Right now, we know that in Scarborough's Ward 9, 777 homeowners will see their taxes increase by more than 1,000%. 266 homeowners in North York's Ward 9 will also see their taxes increase by more than 1,000%, or an average of $1,908. Homeowners in these two wards in Road Metro have a right to know how their property taxes will be affected. Will the minister stop playing Russian roulette with the homeowners and give them some advanced warning by releasing these reports immediately?
You have it. Give it.
Speaker, I think the honourable member should be arguing with the members of Metropolitan Council that I indicated I was not going to force reassessment on the cities of the metropolitan area, and I don't believe the House would have supported such an effort if I had brought it forward. That the Council has indicated by their vote after hours of debate that they were requesting consideration be given to reassessment. They have not put any immediate timeline on it. They indicated over a period of 3 years. They wanted us to review financing of metropolitan programs. They wanted the data available, but not on a house-by-house basis, on a basis of regions and classes, and that's exactly what we can make available. I simply say again, I know the honourable member will ask the question on Monday, and I don't mind that because it's his time as well as mine, that our officials in the assessment area of the Ministry of Revenue are dealing with the officials at the metropolitan government, and we want to cooperate in every reasonable way we can.
New question?
Ask him Monday.
The member for Hamilton East.
I have a question of the Minister of Labour. Is the minister aware of the battery of tests that new applicants for employment are being subjected to at the American Motors Bramalea plant? Following a screening by Canada Employment and Immigration, they're required to submit to back x-rays, aptitude tests, manual dexterity tests, and drug testing. Does the minister condone this kind of a practice that seems to be leading to an elitist workforce in the plant?
Minister?
Speaker, I certainly was aware of the latter, the proposal by American Motors to do drug testing. And the issue that raises is, I think my honourable friend would agree, a very complex one. And I noticed that the president of the CAW, while he certainly undoubtedly condemned the practice, and I saw some of his comments, raised the concern about the appropriateness of drug testing in some extreme cases where health and safety was involved. Mr. Speaker, I have asked my colleagues in Ministers of Labour federally and provincially to look at this matter on a priority basis when we meet at the end of this month. I've sent a telegram to Pierre Cadieux, the federal minister, and to Pierre Paradis, the provincial host of the conference, asking that the matter be added to the agenda. I think it's a very important matter, and I intend to take it up with them. On my return, I intend to raise this matter with my cabinet colleagues.
Supplementary.
Does the minister not realize and not agree that this is a serious violation of individual human rights when it's not voluntary, part of the workers, when the applicants have no avenue of access to the results, when they do not have an appeal procedure, when they can be vulnerable to the information getting out into the community and being spread, and when the applicants for jobs can be weeded out by something as simple as a curvature of the spine, and there's no second opinion, and the company's decision is final. Surely the minister must be prepared to act now and not be firing a battery of wires around the province to decide whether or not he should stop this nefarious practice.
Minister?
Mr. Speaker, the honourable gentleman raises a very good point in terms of the protections that workers must have. Companies would argue, Mr. Speaker, undoubtedly, that they have a right to ensure that a workforce, many of whom will be working with heavy equipment, are medically capable and medically fit to do that work. But Mr. Speaker, there is no doubt that the matter that the honourable gentleman raises is an important one, and that is the right of employees, first of all, to have absolute privacy in any medical testing, and secondly, to be able to know what the testing showed and to appeal any findings which may be faulty, because it would be entirely unfair, Mr. Speaker, if a worker who was looking for a job at the new plant or anywhere else were to find that he was unsuccessful in getting the job because of some findings which later turned out to be wrong. I'll raise the matter with the as quickly as possible with the CAW, which I would have thought might have the matter in hand, but we will look at the policy implications of what is happening at the AMC plant.
New question, the member for Cambridge.
I have a question for the Minister of the Environment. Can the Minister of the Environment explain to us why his government received last May the final study of the Upper Ottawa Street landfill site, which is located in my riding, the city of Hamilton, and yet did not release it until Tuesday of this week? And in view of that, and of the measures that were recommended in there that should be undertaken right away, will the Minister now commit to act immediately on the recommendations of the report to protect the residents of this area?
Minister?
The question actually should go to the Minister of Health, but I realize he's not in the House at the present time, so I'll speak to the Minister of Health about the former. In regard to the second, now don't be so silly. The member for Nipissing wouldn't make accusations of that kind. But to the member, in regard to the recommendations that were made, I'll be reviewing those along with the Minister of Health, whose ministry asked for the report to be drawn up, to be undertaken, along with the Minister of Labour, because there's some occupational health and safety aspects to it, and also with the regional municipality of Hamilton-Wentworth, because most of the recommendations that the member knows are in the report relate to the region and activities it can undertake. So that kind of consultation will go on, and I'll be happy as well to receive from the member any suggestions that he might have that may be helpful in this instance, because I know he has a special interest in it.
Time for oral questions has expired.